Several years ago, I tested for my black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under Professor Roy Dean. That event is one of the highlights of my life because it signifies over a decade and a half of hard work and sustained effort. Roy Dean doesn't call them tests, although you can fail. He calls them demonstrations. But either way, his approach to belt promotions is not entirely without controversy. Maybe not as much today, but back in the earlier days of Jiu-Jitsu, it was considered a little controversial. It was a break from the tradition that the Brazilians established of just awarding a belt when the student was ready. And so I thought today it would be fun to take a trip down memory lane and explore all that. The backdrop of today's video is the fact that tomorrow I'm heading back to Saratoga, Wyoming, to a beautiful lodge on the Platte River where Roy Dean is holding an affiliate gathering, a summer camp for his Jiu-Jitsu affiliates around the world. And I can't wait to go back there, especially because my good friend Devin Henry is testing for his black belt this coming weekend. And I can't wait to participate in that and to see what he comes up with, because I'm sure it's going to be amazing. So let's talk about belt tests. Before we get started, I am very excited to announce that Old Grappler Summit number 2 is coming to San Diego this July 2024. I ran our first Old Grappler Summit last month, and it was a runaway success. We sold out. We had a waiting list. We had people reaching out saying, please do another one of these in the future. I would love to attend. And so by popular demand, we're going to do another one. It's July 12th, 13th, and 14th. It's a 3-day Jiu-Jitsu and social gathering for the over 40 grapplers out there, where we discuss strategies and solutions and techniques for dealing with those younger, more powerful athletes that we routinely struggle against. If you think you might want to attend, the best place to go is my website. Go to rickellis.com and click the events tab, and all the information you need is there. And I look forward to meeting you. I look forward to getting some good training in with you. And honestly, who wouldn't want a 3-day vacation in San Diego in July? It's going to be beautiful out here, and so I hope you can make it. Back in the mid-2000s, Roy Dean moved to Bend, Oregon to open his first school as a fresh black belt. And there were 2 guys, me and Jimmy, that became his very first 2 students. Jimmy was a blue belt coming up on purple belt, and I was a white belt with about 6 months experience, having trained with a bunch of Taekwondo guys trying to learn how to grapple. And it was pretty apparent early on that Roy Dean was very unique. He was someone that held black belts in several martial arts, not just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He has black belts in Judo and in 2 styles of Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Seibukan Jiu-Jitsu and Aikido. And so in those arts, in the Japanese arts, the students generally have to do something to be promoted. You just don't hand somebody a belt. And this is different than what the Brazilians had established. The Brazilian way was when the student is ready, you surprise them, you pull a belt out, maybe out of your jacket that you've been hiding, you award the belt, everybody cheers and claps, you get a photo op, and off you go at your new rank. And I'm not being critical of that methodology. I think there's something spontaneous and kind of poetically efficient about doing it that way. And especially for the bigger academies out there with hundreds of students, the logistics of promotions can be complicated. And so sometimes just awarding a belt is the way to go. And it's certainly easier for the student because the student doesn't have to do anything. All they have to do is keep showing up to class, and one day they get awarded a belt. But that's not how Roy Dean did them. When it's time to get promoted, you have to put a demonstration together. You have to demonstrate that you're worthy. And so the demonstration is typically two things. There's a kata portion where you have to demonstrate a lot of techniques, and that gets more challenging as the belt darkens. And the second part of that is the randori. It's the live sparring where you have to go up against 4 fresh opponents who are coming at you. These are long sparring rounds, and they are fresh, and you are tired. And so it's a chance for you to show what you can do in practice. So there's the theory and there's the practice. And it takes work. You have to get a training partner, you have to drill, you have to do the strength and conditioning, you have to get yourself ready because it's, pretty similar to competition level intensity. And so it can be a challenge to do that. And so the very first demonstration on Roy Dean's YouTube channel, and you can go back and watch it, go look at the videos and watch from oldest to newest, and you can see one of the very first videos was Jimmy De Silva's purple belt demonstration. And again, that was a little controversial. A lot of people really applauded it. A lot of people really appreciated it, and it got a lot of praise because it really is an amazing demonstration. Jimmy is an incredible athlete. He was always just one of those special guys that was, very, very skilled. And but from some quarters in Jiu Jitsu, Roy was criticized as being, oh, look at that. That's just McDojo stuff. Well, it's not really McDojo stuff because you really have to do some hard work to get ready to do this. And he doesn't charge for it. He's not going to charge you for a belt. It's not a money-making scheme. It's a rite of passage in which you invite your friends, your family to watch, and it's a chance for you to cross over into the next level. The very next demo on Roy Dean's channel was my blue belt demo. It was the very first blue belt demonstration on Roy Dean's channel. To earn a blue belt, you have to demonstrate a lot of techniques. You've got to show almost 50 techniques. You've got to show 4 guard passes, 4 side mount escapes, 2 back escapes. You have to show some sweeps. You have to show arm bars from mount, arm bars from guard, chokes from mount, chokes from guard. You have to show some leg locks. You have to show wrestling style takedowns. You have to show judo throws. And honestly, I don't think I was as prepared physically as I should have been. And so I gassed out after that first or second roll. I was pretty tired, but I got through it. I did the work necessary, and it ended up being kind of a big milestone on Roy Dean's channel. This was the first blue belt demonstration. And then over the years, many, many others came along. Eventually, I did a purple belt demonstration. Now for purple belt, it's no longer about demonstrating individual techniques. You have to show combinations of techniques. You have to build sequences of techniques, and you're expected to put 10 of these sequences together. And so for my purple belt demonstration, I did a whole bunch of sequences that had, 3 or 4 techniques for each combination. And for brown belt, you have to build on that. Now, I didn't do a brown belt demonstration. My brown belt promotion was at a Lake Arrowhead retreat with Roy Dean and Huron Gracie and a whole bunch of other people. And so I ended up opening a school as a brown belt. And so for the next, quite a few years, I ran a school, which was great. It was a chance for me to really go deep into the technique, learn how to bring people up, and learn how to be a good coach and a good instructor. And then one day, Roy Dean reached out to me and said, "Rick, I think you're ready for your black belt. let's get a demo on the calendar and you can start working towards it. And so I ended up having about 6 or 7 months to prepare. And I took it very, very seriously. And so I put myself on a strength and conditioning program, which I chronicle in a video on this channel. It's one of the oldest videos on this channel. It's called Maximum Fitness for Jiu Jitsu, where I chronicle, all the strength and conditioning I did, the various methodologies that I use to increase my aerobic threshold, my anaerobic threshold, and all that. And the flip side of that is I had to put together a demonstration. And for this one, I wanted my combinations to be deep. My goal was 10 techniques per sequence. And so that would be about 100 techniques, 10 technique combinations. And then in addition to that, I had to show about 35 individual techniques, and I opted to put a finish on most of those. And so in total, I ended up demonstrating about 140 techniques or so, which is a lot, and that'll get you tired having to show that many techniques back to back to back to back to back. And then it's time to spar, and it's time to showcase that you are at that level against fresh opponents. And so, I'm a fan of this methodology of getting the student to do something for a bunch of reasons. Number one is it turns it into an event. This day is about you. This is your moment of glory. And so it makes it a little bit more special. Number two is it's a rite of passage. We don't have a lot of those in modern society where there's a moment and you have to step over that threshold into some new thing. And it's also a chance to improve your game. You're going to have to get ready physically and you're going to have to get ready technically. And having to put together these big multi-technique sequences, it's a chance to really look deeply into your game, add new components to your game, tighten up things that you like, expand on things that you already do. And I can tell you that my game has never felt better than it has the day after doing a demonstration, because you are just firing on all cylinders. And I suppose it would be like preparing for a competition. Your game probably is going to feel pretty darn good the day after you've competed because you have taken yourself on this journey of preparation. And so I'm a fan. And so those are my thoughts. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Does your instructor require you to do a demonstration or a test of some kind? What are your requirements? And what do you think about those requirements? And I'm heading to Wyoming tomorrow, and I can't wait to see what Devin comes up with, because each one of these demonstrations, if you go to Roy Dean's channel and you begin watching them, especially the purple, brown, and black demonstrations, those are really where the magic happens. You'll see that there's so much personalization in those things. Roy doesn't tell you which techniques to do. He gives you a framework. You have to show him some combinations. You have to show some guard passes. You have to show some sweeps. You have to show this, that, and the other. It's up to you to figure out how to put that all together. And so it becomes a very special, individualized process. One that can be challenging. I always say you kind of go through the stages of grief where initially you start drilling with your training partner and you're like, man, I am never going to be ready for this. But then it comes together sometimes in the final moments. I think when I did my black belt demonstration, I had 9 combinations worked out. I still had the 10th combination. And I think it was the day before I showed up to do my demonstration that I finally finalized that last combination. So sometimes it just comes together in the nick of time. And I can't wait to see what Devin is going to come up with in Saratoga. And you guys will be able to watch it on Roy's channel, probably in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. I assume he'll get it out. He's usually pretty good about that. So those are my thoughts, and I appreciate spending a little time with you today, and I look forward to talking to you next time.